My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. Monitoring, 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 impossible light activity. It's also, by the way, 9:56 a.m. Checkout is 12 p.m. And I did state, please do not disturb. This is a demon. And I'm waiting until she's going to stop being rude, because that's what she's doing right now. She's monitoring. The demons that are monitoring are rude. This is prosecuted as harassment. But what she's actually doing is she's monitoring while I'm publishing the evidence that Ontario Airport Inn is a sex offender, a serial offender, a co-conspirator of murder as a third-party gang stalking innkeeper, maintaining criminal and mentally ill surveillance, proven through the maintenance of the fake sun that is at 9:41 a.m. right here in alignment to me. All right? She's a demon. She's monitoring. This is speaking for the deportation policy. This is a massive sex offense while the people of the state, the government, is maintaining surveillance on the 10 freeway. That's the Archibald Avenue exit right there with the fake sun at what is, let's see, because it's over the Ovid Family Community Library where Mickey's going to prison, right? 9:57 a.m. Well, she's not going to prison at the Ovid Family Community Library, but she's going to prison for gang stalking me at that venue, which is not sharing the sun over the 10 freeway, where she's monitoring me with impunity, including as I walk out of the Ovid Family Community Library around 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the 25th, I believe. Just the other day, she's been monitoring with impunity, where that fake sun is over that venue at the Ovid Family Community Library where the Ontario police are stalking with helicopter as I walk in and out of that venue. This is just one example. And the entity has the fake sun over 1801 East G Street. Remember where the entity has the fake sun over me in alignment to my hotel room, just like the pattern of that environment proving targeting by a demon-possessed population in need of what is martial law, deportation, criminal prosecution as an entity committing a sex offense, engaging what is monitoring vaginas as males and females, because that's what that is, monitoring together, and they're also demons, while the entity has what is engineered light, because the sun's over the Ovid Family Community Library. You also know the sun's not going to be over the same venue. As you know, it's here. I've already documented after 5 p.m. That's how you know what they are. And the entity's engaged what is monitoring my vagina inside of my hotel room. The company is, the population has paid for hotel rooms. And of course, we're going out of the staircase right next to me as a demon that is monitoring. This is P.O.C, keeping my vagina under surveillance. The people of the state are going to prison. And this is on behalf of the terrorist leader, LORENZ, who is going to prison. All right, the entity is engaged in and it is motivated to and is facilitating sexual violence where the demon possessed who are in need of martial law and deportation and prosecution as terrorists. You're driving under what's not even the sun, and engineer light moves on the ground while you do. This is massive surveillance, co-conspirators of murder, maintaining a corrupt business, making money off of gang stalking. This is P.O.C. 1801 East G Street, Ramada by Wenham, 1841 East G Street. I've already documented this. The entity stalking by helicopter, the entity stalking by commercial planes. There's no takeoffs over here either. I've already documented the entity's obsession with me. That obsession is relevant to the proof of the conspiracy to murder the person that you're stalking with impunity, because that's what the vacuum is. That's what the going out the staircase. Remember, the targeted individual is the one that you're paying attention to. They threaten you with impunity. That same impunity is why they're being deported. That same impunity is why Mike LORENZ is going to prison. That same impunity is why Jason Fields is going to prison. That same impunity is why Mickey at the Ovid Family Community Library is going to prison for kidnapping as an entity upon defaming, as though you're going to terrorize somebody in their face like the environment shows and proves. This is P.O.C. This is relevant to bathroom monitoring. All right, this demon starts vacuuming as I begin uploading my images onto the Google Drive, okay? The entity has the fake sun. The housekeeper that's working, by the way, after 5 p.m. is under the same circumstances, speaking to targeting by the venue. A venue is directly opposed to any private property, and the entity is going to be prosecuted for facilitating terrorism. They're all sex offenders engaged in harassment together. The vacuum is audible activity, psychopathic pacing. The fake sun is present. Remember, when I checked out of this venue after 12 p.m., the fake sun's over my head. The demons that are gang stalking as I'm being checked out, the fake sun is over my head, and then it remains over me as I go back to the Ontario Town Square, and the mentally ill continue a pattern of conduct that's documented from the beginning to the end like nothing is happening. That's their mental illness, in addition to the evidence of them gang stalking, which is the evidence of a population that are mentally ill in need of martial law. Okay, this is P.O.C. This is the evidence of what is a massive sex offense, including on the 10 freeway. That's a massive sex offense. The entity knows who I am and is targeting by evidence of that supernatural, impossible coexistence. That's the sun is over the Ovid Family Community Library at 10 o'clock where I would be entering right now. And the Ontario police are stalking me while Gregory opens the door and is gang stalking with the demons that are engaged in surveillance in a library where the mentally ill don't even read. They're stalking. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently 10:01 a.m. All right, criminal summoning at 12:10 p.m. 8EJ8025. This is documentation for their license plates. So you look at the Google Drive. This will be shared onto the Google Drive in images. I'm not going to use the video itself. I'm going to use the images of license plates. Regarding criminal presence, the sex offense of vagina monitoring in a hotel. This is identified as a third-party indeed gang stalking. This is massive surveillance. Now you can see as a system, because they're doing it under what is scientifically impossible. There's no coincidences there. These are demons engaging what is surveillance as an entity, and martial law is required, as the P.O.C. establishes, regarding criminal surveillance by an entity that is in the shoes of the government, using commercial venues, that's what Ontario Airport in, engaging in massive surveillance with the very guests themselves, who are all demons under a fake sun. And I do document very heavily the terrorists that are going to be prosecuted. This is already showing what is gang stalking. Ramada by Wyndham is keeping a fake sun over me while I'm staying at the adjacent property after 3, 4, 5 in the evening. This is indeed stalking by the demons. Okay, this is P.O.C. They've been keeping my vagina under surveillance, and this is the federal imprisonment of Mike Lorenz. Okay, it is currently 12:11. This is Ontario Airport in P.O.C. VAL Heart TYM. All right, this is ongoing surveillance on the roads and the highways by every hotel. The fake sun moves as I move, and at the same time, the evidence shows it's sitting over the Ovid Family Community Library. That's intention regarding what you hear, regarding who you see, regarding what you see, and you're actually looking at light activity, relevant positioning, audible activity, the demon possessed that are monitoring. 6 TRC 687 POC. This is documentation worthy for, it's going on the podcast. You can hear this evidence, but the images are going to be extracted from this video. It's going to be added to the Google Drive with regard to the documentation on the podcast and license plates. All right, POC. All right, 9VWJ071, RY047 handicap. Criminal summoning 7LMJ581. That's the government, by the way. That's Mike Lorenz. That's the Ontario Police. That's Michael GERKEN. That's the Ontario International Airport. That is still gang stalking and furtherance of murder is the only reason why. They're doing it while they are going to be prosecuted. Their mental illness, they are acting through all of these demons. As you can hear them sounding sirens. And there is no imagination regarding the federal offense, regarding the terrorism of the gang stalkers, the terrorists that are in need of martial law. The entities engaged in what is criminal summoning, while they, as you are also aware, engage in, false allegations. Oh, you tried to break into a building and that's why I'm here. Those are the demons sounding sirens under a fake sun at the Ovid Family Community Library, which is what the record shows. And it's also not going to stay here, which the record shows after 3 o'clock and I open my room, and this population is keeping my vagina under surveillance at a facilitating venue where the scientific evidence of stalking, very detailed, very thorough stalking by a population is underway by the demon possessed who conspire your murder. POC. 7KYW422 is engaged in state action, no protection of the Constitution, and a co-conspirator of murder. All right, that's the entity that's engaged in this criminal system. Everhome Suites is engaged in criminal summoning. Chick-fil-A is engaged in criminal summoning. The Sheraton, KFC, the Ramada, you already know that they're gang stalking. Immigrants as well, engaging in that. All right, those management personnel that are targeting me, they're doing so as immigrants in this country, which is what the people of the state in California are doing. That's speaking to what is deportation of the whole immigrant population, by the way, that are engaged in terrorism, as the city of Ontario has exposed the entire state. All right, it's 12:15 p.m. 981 Z76 Nevada, 8VCE 465. This is surveillance in the parking lot. They're all stalking. License 7MNS 009, 9UJY 741, N&H Trucking LLC. All right, the demon exercising control over that truck, which is a means of presence. It's a means of identification. 9VFH175. And how you know that these Caucasian people that are stalking, just with regard to identification, because it doesn't matter, as you already know, the demon possession is not relevant to race. Okay? But the demographics show all races are monitoring, which is stalking by the government. They're stalking. How do you know that? Because the fake sun moves over me. All right, and the city of Ontario right here is stalking, sounding sirens for their stalking, gang stalking purposes. Okay, that's how you're going to prosecute the stalkers. A gang stalker is going to be prosecuted for conspiring murder with the government. It's P.O.C. It's no small thing. 12:16 p.m. 9 KKM 166. A vagina monitor. Okay, P.O.C. Alrighty, this is regarding employee number 3603, co-conspiring murder, gang stalking, and harassment. Why would you be harassed by a third party whom you have not personally documented? Because it is an entity, both a public entity and it's a demonic entity. You are approached with what is the mental illness of that entity that is hostile with every picture, every syllable, every incriminating piece of evidence that you accumulate. That's how you are connecting the evidence of poor treatment upon gang stalking and furtherance of murder with that entity that is speaking and acting as one. This is P.O.C. employee 3603 co-conspiring in my murder and also engaging in what is hostility, harassment, while engaging in the pattern of conduct. Okay, it is currently 12:39 p.m. with this fake sun. You're looking at what is supernatural. Zoom out. There's no sun that's going to move at the same speed limit. It's not going to be on this same street. This is Holt Boulevard. While you're looking at my evidence showing the fake sun over me on Route 61, going in both directions at all hours of the day, employee 3603 is a part of that pattern of conduct, as Omnitrans employees have demonstrated. Omnitrans is a state actor engaged in what is conspiring my murder for years, which is also relevant for the prosecution of Alan D. Wapner. 9FLR135 is conspiring with this employee 3603, who are targeting with impossible light under a fake sun, stalking as a population, and they were doing this while I was inside of a hotel room. This is also not over the Ovid Family Community Library on the other side of the town. This is not a sun that would be on the same Hope Boulevard like I documented at Sinapec, where the people of the state are stalking on the roads and the highways, the mentally ill that are hostile. Okay, when you're engaged in that P.O.C., that's the entity that is speaking as one as well. But I want to be clear, it's 12:39 p.m. at what is Grove, I believe? Yeah, this is Grove and Holt. Everybody on the bus is monitoring. That's not sunlight. Okay, the fake sun's remaining over Ovid, it's remaining over Bethel Congregation, it's remaining over that bus stop where they're stalking as a population obsessed with me, obsessed with the one that they have failed in sacrificing and keeping silent, and they're going to prison. They include Mike LORENZ, they include the demons that are gang stalking in commercial planes, those that are engaging in targeting systematically, threatening your life, stalking with the police on the roads and the highways, like Omnitrans employees have been documented engaging in furtherance of murder. Alrighty, it is currently 12:40 p.m. This is documentation of what is harassment, ongoing psychological torture. While they intentionally cross path, that's fine. They're going to prison though. That's the reward. This is P.O.C. 7YXJ204. That's the evidence of the gang stalking officials, the gang stalking police departments, the gang stalking fire departments, and the gang stalking EMTs who are going to be removed from position. That's intentional when you're looking at the specific environment. It's also highly imprudent. Alrighty, let's gonna go back. This is where Sinapec is located up here, so we're just gonna go ahead and get the evidence of the mentally ill that are gonna be removed from operating ambulances. Alright, the entity, remember at the United States Postal Service across the street from Sinapec, the entity has a fake sun over me at 7:45 in the morning. So we're gonna go ahead and get that since the demons of the American Medical Response, who pose a threat to the public, are engaged in that documented terrorism, 9LRT757. And the mentally ill, by the way, are operating public transportation, stalking as a population, engaging criminal defamation and criminal summoning. This is called crossing a path while their demons pacing under a fake sun, okay? This is the entity that is engaged. This is Bondview. Oh yeah, this is Bondview and Hope Boulevard. This is Impossible Light. That's the evidence of what is the targeting and the mental illness. Okay, stalking under a fake sun, driving under the sun doesn't cause light on the inside of the bus. That's the entity JIAQIW. Employee 3603 is indeed gang stalking with the demon possessed, and the more that they're exposed, the demons, the more that they engage in that very clearly evidence of what Mike LORENZ, the Ontario police, who state, when the people of the state call them, that you've committed some act while they're targeting at the same time, they're going to be both diagnosed and criminally prosecuted. 75457D4. All right, that's P.O.C. That's impossible light activity. Remember, the sun is also in a totally different location. That's also the evidence of impossible light activity. This is the mentally ill that require martial law. Sinapec is on this street. I documented at 7:45 a.m. So that's why I'm referring to that. We are currently at campus. Remember, I'm at Cardenas and the Ontario police are stalking at 9 in the morning, while the demon-possessed gang stalkers, who are also immigrants, are engaging in terrorism with the government on the roads and the highways in furtherance of murder. P.O.C. It is currently 12:42 p.m. That's a sex offense. I'm going to prosecute for that. And the entity began it after I captured the impossible light activity on video. That is the entity that is, again, mentally ill. Psychopathic behavior results in more of that violent conduct, which is to monitor and furtherance of murder. Employee 3603 refusing his information also while he is gang stalking. P.O.C. All right, this is severe mental illness. He's in impossible light. And under the fake sun, I'm at this bus stop, remember, at 7 in the morning as well. This is the infamous 150 East Hope Boulevard. This is the demon that's monitoring and molesting. This is the demon possession is evident through the impossible light that's targeting me on the bus. 1545805. Stalking on the roads and the highways. The fake sun's going to remain over me as it did as I'm documenting while I'm at the hotel of Ontario Airport and coming all the way up. And I'm also here at 7 in the morning, which is how you know an airport is stalking. Okay? That's the entity that is very mentally ill. Doing so while the sun's not over the Ovid Family Community Library. These are demons that are pacing. I'm going to break that down for you. They're demons. That's P.O.C. The entity has the fake sun over the 150 East Hall. I've been documenting that for a long term regarding what is mental illness that you're witnessing by the demon possessed are monitoring you. And this is criminal surveillance and it's stalking by the government. And this is also hostile conduct by co-conspirators of murder acting under company names that you're going to prosecute. 1730864, doing so with immigrants that are going to be deported, doing so with blackface demons, all the same, sharing that criminal conduct, sharing that mental illness, sharing that impunity. The entities engaged in that while impossible light is occurring on the bus, and it begins accosting my person after I documented that damning evidence, but I've documented impossible light. There's no light that's going to appear on the inside of the bus while you're driving outside of it. Okay, and it's also not the sun while I'm here literally documenting historically and as of late at 7 in the morning where that same airport is stalking. And there's no takeoffs from the airport, which is east of this location, where they're also flying over the Ontario Town Square. There's no takeoff over there. There's no airport behind the amphitheater of the Ontario Town Square. There's no sun that will be over the same venue where they're stalking when I'm here at 9, 7, 8 in the morning. This is the entity that engages in that. Laughing while you're being prosecuted and shown as demons is unpersuasive conduct. The gang members that are mentally ill engage in that conduct, presupposing that you are not going to pierce into the evidence of them targeting you. That does not work, and it is relevant for what is psychopathic conduct that's shared as a population. Okay, the entity engages in what is gang conduct amongst public transportation. Stalking by the airport, stalking by Omnitrans, it's relevant to Alan D. Wapner. Okay, this is all impossible light. The entity, remember, I get on Omnitrans, I go to Pomona. This is the same route. The sun's not going to be here under any circumstances, and it wouldn't be over me. And it's never creating light, shooting through the middle of the bus, moving on then what is the roof of the bus while you're driving by at that. It's not even the sun. 10195 is targeting, knows exactly who I am, and it's also a demon. Okay, this is the elements of monitoring, and the mentally ill population are also those who are immigrants who are going to be deported out of the country. It's a matter of national security. Okay, P.O.C. It is currently 12:47 p.m. This is the same block where I'm documenting the entity gang stalking at the intersection at 6 p.m. This is the same intersection, Holt and Euclid, where the entity has the fake sun setting, where the entity is gang stalking with those of this, you're looking at what is the actually exact opposite of discrimination, equal opportunity regarding terrorism by the state, domestic terrorism, the gang stalking African American, the gang stalking Asian male that are sharing in that criminal conduct that is state action, okay? The entities engage in that as a population, where the entities engage in that conduct, and this is speaking to what is martial law, okay? This is all on behalf of a gang stalking police department that commits kidnappings. Through them, they engage in criminal summoning, waging malicious allegations, stalking you obsessively, keeping your genitalia under surveillance, and they do so where a fake sun rises and sets over you. This is P.O.C. Omnitrans, this license plate in particular, that's prosecution, stalking with the entity, 1545805, bus 2362, employee 3603. All right, engaging what is sexually violating me as a gang stalker in furtherance of my murder because he's a hostile demon, monitoring evidence. You wouldn't be so mad, in other words, demons, if you weren't keeping me under surveillance. Learn how to control yourself when you lose. P.O.C. All right, there's Ontario Police stalking, license 1698782, vehicle 1125, substantially similar. They are indeed stalking. All right, I'm going to remind you about the gang stalking police officer that was laughing when I called him Goldfinger. His name starts with a G. He's gang stalking here in this parking lot at the Ontario Town Square, where that agency is stalking me by helicopter under the identical circumstances, the fake sun over me. Doing so while they are stalking on the roads and the highways, exhibiting mental illness as an agency that is unfit, not only based on their criminal activity of surveillance or furtherance of murder, but because of the fact that they are demon possessed, which is proven through what is also their mentally ill behavior. This is the entity, the agency that's going to be disbanded. They're also gang stalking as an agency, as the Ontario Police are targeting the scientific evidence proving that, and that agency making what are inexplicable malicious assertions. That's also the evidence of them targeting. They've documented targeting so often. They provided evidence with regard to their criminal conduct and their demon possession. This demon is parked stalking at the Ontario Town Square after 6 p.m. Demon stalking on the roads and the highways after 4 p.m. It's 12:51 p.m. right now. That's 1:51 p.m. daylight savings time. The entity is stalking me as an agency at this Ontario Town Square clock. That's the clock right there. And that agency is stalking by helicopter. Remember, this morning while I'm at Ontario Airport Inn, which is not over this location, it's still not over the Ovid Family Community Library. It will be when I'm there speaking to that agency stalking, just like every other demon. This is evidence you need to understand with regard to what is the unfit position that the demons do not maintain in law enforcement. This is literally evidence that is substantiating, proving, based on the criminal predisposition of the demon possessed, the mentally ill state, that they are unfit for law enforcement, and you are able to know who they are as well. Okay, and it is a bar to law enforcement. Not only that, I've shown you through the tangible evidence that not only are they demons, that they are engaged in targeting, and they are Tracy Banks's and Jason Isaac Field's co-defendant. They're going to prison, all of them. And the entity's engaged in that at this same address. This is 224 North Euclid Avenue, where the fake son is following me en route to this location. And by the way, it's no longer over the bus where employee 3603 is targeting in furtherance of murder with that mentally ill agency. Michael Lorenz is going to prison. Okay, this is P.O.C. It's 12:53 p.m. What do the mentally ill do? What you see on that bus, they engage in more targeting. They engage in more vagina monitoring. They engage in more light slinging. These are the ones that put hot feces on saucer plates and they eat it up. They heat it up in the microwave and they heat it up. 9JFK446 is a feces-eating, light-slinging gargoyle, a stalker, a co-conspirator of murder is how the domestic terrorists are going to be prosecuted. This is P.O.C. This is public corruption where the police are stalking with the population and they're all demons. P.O.C. It's currently 12:54 p.m. at 224 North Euclid Avenue, 280 North Lemon Apartments. The fake son over me as early as 7 in the morning. P.O.C. License 7 Charlie Apple Frank 708. License Apple Bob 558. That's a handicap plate. License 8 Nancy Paul Henry 409. License 9 Nancy Bob Jerry 390. License Jerry Apple Xavier Frank Indiana Victor Edward. License 8 Uncle Andrew Nancy 769. License 9 Uncle Jerry Yolanda 532. License 900 Robert Bob, that's a handicap plate. License 66111 Mary 1. License 8 Uncle Indiana Mary 525. License 9 Robert Nancy Apple 516. 6 David Queen Barry 553. 6 Sam Jerry Charlie 798. 9 Frank Yolanda Jerry 712. 8 Samuel Nancy Samuel 241. 8 Thomas Edward Sam 767. 5 Thomas George Barry 362. And these demons, by the way, at 12:34 p.m. at Holt Boulevard at the, I believe it was the Cinepec, where I'm documenting the entities stalking me as one at 7:45 in the morning. This entity is engaging in what is harassment, just like the same entity that is operating the Omnitrans bus, engaging in what is gang stalking while using harassing, threatening, violent speech, which is a threat to your life while you are subject to monitoring, which is in furtherance of murder, exhibiting severe mental illness in doing so, including while harassing the one that is documenting you. That is the entity that is engaging in what is harassment. This includes all of that entity, including every single license plate, while the demon-possessed speak as one. And they also speak as the state. License 0517 Edward. That's a handicap where the demons are congregating at a fake church. This is the Community Christian Fellowship, which is a facilitating venue where criminal activity and demonic activity is underway. License plate. Mary Larry 05B, as in boy. That's a handicap. Hyundai. That's mental illness that you're witnessing in the background, the knocking. It's noise creation. They're all in engineer light under a fake sun that's now all of a sudden back over the Ovid Family Community Library. Those are the mentally ill that are stalking as a population. And it's 2:19 p.m. License 0517B as in boy, or 05178. Handicap. I believe it's a B as in boy, though. And it is a... correction. The Hyundai is licensed Mary Larry 058. That's a handicap plate. And the next license plate, these are two distinct means of identification. This is license 0517 perhaps. That one is not 100% legible to my human eyes. I'm going to keep it on the drive because there's technology where you can. And the entity, I'm maintaining an investigation, and the federal government is aware as well. So I'm keeping it on the Google Drive. License 9 George Paul Kelly 474. License 8 Thomas Mary Paul 964. License Fox Rent-A-Car at 1776 East Hope Boulevard is gang stalking. They're doing so at 12:33 p.m. while the fake sun is over me, and it's moving over a facilitating venue that is engaged in criminal activity as opposed to a legitimate business that they have any right under the law to profit from. They don't, and it's committed in furtherance of murder. That's the federal RICO case. That's the entity that is also stalking with activity while a communication device is used in the background for the same mentally ill and criminal purpose. This African-American male is documented as well. Gang stalking a computer, number 4. Fox Rent-A-Car is under the fake sun at 12:33 p.m. Recall my documentation at Cinepec. Cinepec, as opposed to the address, is what I'm referring to because I don't have my video evidence in front of me right now. It's published on the internet and on the drive. But at 7:45 in the morning, I'm on this same Hope Boulevard. Fox Rent-A-Car is adjacent to Cinepec, and the fake sun is over me at 7:45 in the morning. A facilitating venue, a corrupt business, just like a gang stalking hotel, having a fake sun over it, is engaging in sexual violence, criminal activity with the government, and doing so under the malicious guise of a company name, okay? And it's also exposing all at the same time demon possession, demonic activity, in other words, public corruption, mental illness, sexual violence. Sex offenders are not individuals. Sex offenders are also entities and companies, neighborhoods, okay, government bodies. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct while at 1776 East Hope Boulevard, the fake sun is over me, and Fox Rent-A-Car is targeting. The evidence of that environment following as I go past that venue is what is assurance of that. It's already on the record. So, license 7 Sam Mary Charlie 706. License 9 Mary Robert Edward 918, I believe. Substantially similar. It's a white Camry. Captured at 12:30 p.m., 12:30 and 48 seconds. It'll be on the Google Drive. License 9 Uncle Larry David 937. License 7 Xavier Charlie David 240. Let's see. License 7 Bob Larry Uncle 809. License 8 Thomas Indiana Apple 100. License 8 Wendy Frank Xavier 366. License 9 Apple Yolanda Frank 730. License 9 David 0 Mary 582. 9 Mary Paul 713. 618 Mary Henry Charlie, that's an Oregon plate. 8 Zebra Uncle Robert 787. 6 Frank Uncle Edward 117. 137 7 Charlie 9, that's Nevada. Wendy Henry Thomas Frank 36. 5 Zebra George Yolanda 625. 188 Bob 80 Nevada. 9 Larry Bob Larry 584. 9 Robert Thomas Jerry 776. This is the entity, okay? Amongst that entity, Motel 6 is acting in concert with the City of Ontario, utilizing criminal summoning while they exhibit mental illness, stalking with light, stalking in the path, stalking altogether, using things like fire trucks and ambulances, while they're actually demons that are manifesting before you under a fake sun that is moving down the street over me, while they are sounding sirens while I'm at 1801 East G Street, walking on the property of the Ontario Airport Inn, and they are engaging what is waiting in the path, stalking. And they're doing so at that Motel 6, which is already on the record in 2021 when the gang stalking agency, the Ontario Police Department, are stalking, just like they were while I'm remaining in a hotel, the Ontario Airport Inn, stalking while I'm remaining at the hotel, the same Motel 6 in 2021 after this same entity that you hear gang stalking now. The music is audible activity. While you are stalking in the path in order for me to hear the audible activity that you're monitoring with. While you're engaging in surveillance of the evidence that's going to be used to prosecute you. That's the state, the government itself, that is threatening your life, by the way. That's the impermissible threat, okay? You're just going down charge after charge after charge while the government's engaging in surveillance. Nonetheless, at this Motel 6 in 2021, the entity's engaged in stalking using helicopters. This is after 5 p.m. The fake sun is over me at this Motel 6 where the City of Ontario is engaged in criminal summoning at 12:24 p.m. Criminal summoning is a federal offense. It's an act of terrorism. It's facilitation amongst the gang stalking entity, and it is the entity that is acting together as a population. It's not just the government, the demons that are stalking in the emergency vehicles. The people of the state are engaged in criminal summoning together. Just want to be clear on that. And Motel 6 is gang stalking. The evidence is my hotel stay in 2021, specifically August 17th, 2021. The evidence is already published on the internet where you see this entity that is stalking now, the mentally ill that have been engaged in this stalking system for years. The entity is engaging in this conduct at the same Motel 6 where the entity utilized the tactic, criminal summoning, lights, sirens, emergency vehicles. Public corruption is exposed thereby. And the entity is doing that at the same venue where I'm capturing the entity stalking by helicopter under a fake sun in perfect alignment with my hotel room at that same address. Daylight savings time or not, will never compensate, reconcile, make normal. In other words, what is that evidence of the entity targeting the mentally ill that are gang stalking, as you can hear in the background. Already, license. And by the way, engaging in physical violence, engaging in what is laughter, engaging in what is defamation, engaging in what is kidnapping, engaging in more gang stalking. Under no circumstances, neither one of those, individually nor collectively, render illegitimate any of the evidence of that same entity that is proven to be stalking, including by silence. Neither does it make anything that entity that is targeting you legally relevant regarding defamation. Criminal defamation is what that is in any court hearing, especially where the targeted individual is being targeted by that court system. That doesn't make it legitimate either. Neither will any of that ever render illegitimate evidence of that same entity, demons who are stalking. They remain the exact same condition and engaged in the exact same criminal conduct. It is only through gang violence, which is necessitating corruption by the government, that is engaging in what is targeting American citizens successfully. It is absolutely legally irrelevant regarding the substance of the tangible evidence that is proving in your silence or in your violence, which is documented, that it is the P.O.C. License 5 Bob Samuel Victor 217. License 6 Kelly Wendy Charlie 249. What will happen, though, is the entity that engaged in laying any fingers on me, you're going to prison. And the entity that fingers includes not only violence, it engages in theft, theft of my property, and engages in what is kidnapping. All right, and the way that you did that was through malicious assertions, and it's malicious because you're proven as a stalker who then lied on my character to commit that federal offense, an act of terrorism. You're going to prison for that, okay? And it's all the government. The government is acting through the people who are not individuals under the Constitution, state or federal. They're engaged in criminal conduct as an entity, the public entity, and they're a demonic one. And they are also severely mentally ill, as that audible activity confirms for you. Okay, this is P.O.C. These are the license plates of many of the mentally ill. This is speaking to what is necessitating martial law, while domestic terrorism is established by the evidence of the P.O.C. License 8, Apple George Robert 859. This is all gang stalking on the roads and the highways. They're all stalking as a population under a whole fake sun. That's moving over me while they're driving all around. The sun's not moving. Sun doesn't move until I move. That's not the sun. That's the stage where all the demons who are very poor actors are going to be placed in the appropriate facilities based on their documented criminal conduct. Alrighty, this includes what is Jason Isaac Fields. This includes Tracy Banks. License 44118, Apple 2. This includes Eric Corey Spencer. This includes Mike Lorenz. This includes Jay Chu and Rodriguez. This includes the demon L. Edwards gang stalking me at the bus stop under the fake sun. This includes the demons that are stalking in the bathroom and then lying, saying that I'm harassing you in the bath when I'm not even addressing you, where you're targeting me based on the illusion that you present. While I'm operating and prosecuting you with your own illusion, you're still targeting, proving that you are a psychopath, a delusional one, who is in fact stalking and monitoring. All right, they're going to prison. Okay, that's the bottom line. They're going to federal prison. This is also the evidence speaking to what is mental illness that is shared and closeted as a population. Okay, license 8, Apple George Robert 859. The mentally ill are increasingly frustrated. That's the noise you're hearing in the background. Remember, it's all deliberate. A fake sun is over this library, and engineered light is all covering everything while all they're doing is pacing around and stalking with noise. Very mentally ill behavior, which is always serving to prosecute them. License. Let's see. Sam Thomas, 24, I believe. License plate 14910 Victor 3. License plate 8 Jerry Mary Paul 531. License plate Thomas Apple Robert Bob Henry 65. License plate 8 Nancy Sam Bob 674. License plate 9 Thomas Charlie Nancy 785. License 9 Sam Xavier Yolanda 360. And by the way, like I've stated before, and as is the case as you're recognizing and learning to understand for your own protection and information and knowledge, the reality of the demon-possessed, the reality of the criminal activity of the demon-possessed, the reality of public corruption where the demon-possessed have strategically maintained positions in government to keep this surveillance and this criminal organized system of targeting American citizens amongst this system of surveillance, which is both inhumane and unconstitutional. The entity is engaged in what is stalking with impossible light activity. During the day, it takes on the appearance of what is a fake sun remaining over the target individual. It's impossible light activity, and it will be prosecuted as a massive sex offense committed by the entity. But it is also at nightfall where the demon-possessed who are stalking with noise and pacing all around. They're doing so in impossible light that fills the building. They have multiple shadows while you hear them engaging in what is loud operation of the register at the front of the library. Amplification. While they're opening and closing, pacing in and out of doorways. That's amplification pursuant to the focus, which is me and my genitalia. That's mental illness, sexual violence, criminal monitoring, and furtherance of murder with impunity and high level of malice. This is the entity that's going to be prosecuted for that. This is the same very foolish demons that committed kidnapping. They're going to prison. That's what the activity that's underway is speaking to. The entity's engaging in this, however, and the entity's engaging with a stalking with the possible light at nightfall, where they're stalking me outside, molesting with that which is also not their headlights, demonstrating severe mental illness. severe. This is the entity that's engaging in that surveillance system day and night. Okay? And that's all state action. License 8 Thomas Frank Jerry 347. License 9 Frank Thomas Xavier 431. License 53256 Sam 3. License 5 Apple Indiana George 541. The government is going to be prosecuted for federal stalking under Title 18, to say the least. My case in chief has relied upon that federal statute because it is surveillance by the state, and the people of the state are the state. Federal stalking is the chief statute. The entity is engaged in a plethora of federal offenses while they're engaged in surveillance on the internet as a population that's occurring in the environment in ways in which the P.O.C. demonstrates so that you can understand what demons are doing and in the environment amongst light and presence and the use of communication devices, etc. But the entity is engaged in what is federal stalking under Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2, including while they are on the roads and the highways. This is surveillance while they're driving all around, stalking. Now, how do you do that on the inside when there's no cars inside of the Open Family Community Library where everybody in here is stalking? You stalk with noise, the doors, the voices, the ongoing sensational activity, everything that the demons do, creating an earthquake, which is going to be prosecuted as battery, violence. Right? The demons, the terrorists that don't know how to stop, they're going to be stopped with prison. They're going to be stopped with restraints. They're going to be stopped with medical diagnoses. That's how they're going to be stopped. They're going to be stopped with martial law. Okay? The entities engaged in this conduct, and this is the entity that's engaging in that together on behalf of the state. License 8 Henry 0 Frank 980. 9 Uncle Mary Yolanda 197. 9 Bob George Frank 505. 9 Uncle Frank Jerry 281. 9 Apple Yolanda Paul 017. 7 Edward Queen Yolanda 656, excuse me. 8 George Henry David 374. 8 David Charlie 678. License 6 Jerry Edward 886. License 8 Frank Queen Nancy 554. This is the mentally ill. Light activity, they're not looking for anything. They're stalking. This is called relevant positioning, audible activity, and light activity. And they're doing so as the entity is stalking, as the airport has already established that the Ontario police are engaged in criminal surveillance, the mentally ill, stalking by helicopter, stalking in police vehicles, stalking where the fake sun's set today. This is P.O.C. And doing so with the people of the state. These are demons that are pacing, just like the fools inside of the Ovid Family Community Library. That's Securitas, by the way. That's a company that is also stalking. They're walking with multiple shadows. That's the police department engaged in criminal conduct. They're going to be disbanded. And they're also engaged in surveillance together on the internet. These are just the demons in front of me. Okay? This is P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging. I want you to see that shadow. You see how it moved from behind his person to in front? That's a demon. That's a gang stalker. And so is the one that's using the helicopter. That's impossible light on that wall, moving. These are demons. That's Securitas. Okay, I just want to be clear on that. Securitas engaged in kidnapping. The entity is stalking as a police department. Mike LORENZ is going to prison. Michael GERKEN, vagina monitoring. Okay, that's a fire department being shut down. Monitoring on the internet right now. Doing so with impunity. When the government is engaging in terrorizing you, you start capturing video. You put it on the internet so the federal government can know where you are, prosecute, etc. And you're looking at them still stalking you, this is called impunity under the law, and the entity is going to be subject to federal prison. Mike LORENZ's criminal pattern of conduct as a terrorist leader is fully proven in a body of evidence, and it's also relevant for the gang stalkers that are going to federal prison for kidnapping while they have been stalking in police vehicles and in helicopters. This is P.O.C. This is the Ontario Town Square. Here's the infamous clock where you know that that same agency is stalking under a fake sun, exhibiting demon possession and mental illness. The two are the same, okay? It is currently 5:50 p.m. with regard to that pattern of conduct. This is evidence that you can scrutinize. This was dynamic light that was on this wall right here while those demons were stalking in the path. It was also engineered light. He was walking, his shadow was magnified in size behind him, and then it shadow moved in front of him. That's impossible light activity. They're doing so while the entity is not coincidentally but pursuant to gang stalking and furtherance of murder, just like the city of Ontario is doing while I was staying in a hotel, while innkeepers are engaged in surveillance and furtherance of murder, keeping me under surveillance. The entity is engaging what is gang stalk in the apartment building, on the roads and the highways. The demon possessed that are engaged in that conduct, your headlights are not reaching. That's a demon. And the entity that provides this wealth of evidence is the entity that's going to prison and the entity that's going to be surrounded with martial law. This is mandated, okay? This is P.O.C. That's criminal facilitation for murder. Mike LORENZ is going to prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently, again, 5:51 p.m. Here's my shadow right here so you can see it. Alrighty, and here's my shadow over here. That's impossible light activity, and it was also impossible that that demon had headlights that reached over here. That's the purpose of stalking me under a fake sun. P.O.C. They're all stalking. These are demons, and they're listening to me. They also engaged in vagina monitoring on behalf of this agency. All right, this is disbanding. Just want to be clear on that. The people of the state are going to prison. They engage in criminal summoning. They're going to prison. They engage in what is criminal surveillance on behalf of the entity. And this is the mentally ill, the demon possessed. Stalking, sitting on the bench. Stalking, sitting on the bench. Stalking with light activity using the vehicles. Stalking in the path with the demons that were driving. And your headlights aren't reaching over here. That's engineer light. They're all walking around in engineer light. That's P.O.C. Okay, the entity that's engaged in that, I want to be clear, the terrorists engage in very mentally ill conduct. Psychopaths are going to be diagnosed and criminally prosecuted. While I speak to the criminal conduct and how you're going to legally analyze and prosecute the stalker, the entity chose to engage in terrorism by flying over the top of my head as though you're dropping bombs. Remember, the ordinary target individual, you're going to legally analyze and prosecute for this. Okay, fiscally speaking, the entity is using money of the government to engage in criminal activity. This is also a basis for removing Paul Leon and Mike LORENZ from position, but he's going to prison. And so are a laundry list of other demons. This is P.O.C. It is currently 5:52 p.m. They're going to prison. Mike LORENZ is going to prison for the ongoing threat to your life while a population is stalking. And that's what this is. Relevant positioning, audible activity, light activity. These are the demons stalking with impossible light while their headlights are not reaching on the opposite side of the street, causing the benches to appear projected on the wall and swiping across. Those are the demons that are stalking. They're sitting here right now engaging in surveillance while the entity has the audacity in front of the federal government to stalk an American citizen in the United States. That's what's relevant about the population that's being documented, engaging in what is necessitating martial law. This is relevant to what is mental illness. They will be diagnosed. They will be federally prosecuted. They will be deported. This is P.O.C. It is currently 5:53 p.m. All right, this is the entity stalking by plane, flying over and then doing a cartwheel. Meaning flying, stalking right here, flying, stalking me, maintaining ongoing plane activity, by the way, just like the Ontario police, doing a cartwheel, making a U-turn, flying back. That's psychopathic pacing in the engineer light, where the police department is stalking as well, using planes and helicopters. The people of the state are stalking. This is all stalking. This is mental illness. A population that is stalking one person is mentally ill and in need of martial law, including the airport that is going to be shut down. And this is my shadow that's appearing way in front of me. All right, and this is another shadow of, they're all stalking. Okay, this is what they do concerning my vagina. This is relevant to surveillance that is criminal and it's mentally ill. It's demonic. That's a demon that is pacing, walks toward to get in alignment with me, doing so in engineer light while the government's stalking my planes and helicopters. The people of the state, these are demons over here pacing in the dark. The entity is maintaining surveillance by the population, and the population is stalking me using commercial planes, and they're stalking with light. This is demonic. This is P.O.C. The entity, the government that is stalking you using demonic tactics is engaging with a psychological torture, sexual violence, in furtherance of murder. And you're going to prosecute the government for that. This is all conduct on behalf of the entity that is indeed mentally ill. It is currently 7:14 p.m. That's the Ontario International Airport. That's the same city of Ontario. This is P.O.C.